Welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update, hosted by the York Group of Downing Fry Realty. Our show will bring you the most up-to-date information on the local real estate market, presented by leading experts in the field.
Hi, and welcome to the Southwest Florida Real Estate Update. I'm Michael York of the York Real Estate Group, and today we're joined by our host, Jim York, and his guest, Don Ross Jr., President of Ross Title and Escrow.
Thank you, Michael, for the introduction. Well, Don, thanks for coming on the show this month.
Thank you, Jim. Nice to be here.
So the people that haven't seen our show, let's just tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm Don Ross. I'm an attorney in Naples. I've been an attorney since 1981. I have a tax degree, deal with a lot of non-residents. I'm one of the owners of Downing Fry, been their attorney for 25 years or so, own Ross Title and Escrow. We're right on the corner of 6th Avenue North and 41 in Naples. Forecloses, three other people who do various parts of the process, been together, some of them over 30 years, 20 years, one 10 years, so been together a long time, nice seamless unit. People seem to like what we do.
I know you're part of our team, and
Appreciate it.
The thing that's nice about you is that you return phone calls.
Well, that's my father who taught me that.
And then even your closing agents return phone calls or emails the same day or within an hour. So it's hard to find that in this profession that we're in today.
I think you call it common courtesy.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Just return calls.
So we're going to talk today it's a little bit different, but it's part of our real estate. Cyber fraud. Okay, so I mean we're seeing it a lot where our customers are putting deposits down or second deposits, and we need to get some more information from you because we don't want them getting an email or somebody requesting to send a payment to here or there, and it's not the right place to send it.
Well, it's the price we pay for having the internet. It's getting increasingly difficult. If I had to isolate it to one point, the biggest problem we have with cyber fraud is persuading people that there is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just not registering with the vast majority of the public. I think in the last 3 months, if my memory is correct, we have examples of what they call spoofing with both the City of Naples and Collier County. One got hit for $600,000, the other one was $700,000.
That's right, yeah.
And spoofing is when somebody impersonates somebody else to persuade Collier County or the City of Naples to send them money. And that's what happened with both of them.
It did.
They impersonated a vendor that the city and the county respectively were dealing with, and they thought they were sending money to somebody they actually owed the money to. So that's our spoofing. But really, it's hard for people who are doing real estate closings, and you think that most individuals might do 1 or 2, maybe 3 real estate closings their whole life,
right,
their entire life. How do you convince somebody like that that this is a real threat, that it's a numbers game for these people who set up computers in hotel rooms and send out thousands and thousands and thousands of emails trying to persuade you or me or my parents or anyone that they're really who they are and please send money. I mean, I met with a lady this morning whose husband recently passed away, and she's getting fake letters from somebody purporting to be Fifth Third and another one purporting to be Bank of America, and they're not. So she's just frantic over the death of her husband, and what do I do with this, and am I going to lose my condo and all that? So unless it happens to you, the tendency with the public is this is not a big deal. But the material you sent me yesterday on the National Association of Realtors Conference, the Frank Abagnale, the man they made a movie about, the Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks movie, Catch Me If You Can.
That's right.
Real character who was involved in washing checks, and he impersonated a doctor and a lawyer and everything else. And now he's a consultant to stop what he used to do, essentially. I got that, and then I got a bulletin from one of my underwriters saying cyber fraud is on the increase significantly, and we need to take definitive steps to avoid wires when they're not needed. Don't do them if you don't have to. have a template or a separate list verifying the names and phone numbers and emails of the people you deal with at particular banks in town that we customarily do payoffs to, because they're impersonating banks. That's spoofing.
Right.
It's quite common. I mean, I've had realtors who got emails from someone impersonating their son.
Wow.
You know, where dad was going to help the son out buy a house in Denver, I think it was. And what tipped off the father was the above his son's signature, respectfully, you know, and then his son's name. And you know, the client told me, he said, my son never said respectfully to me in my entire life. So I immediately called him and said, was that you? And no, it wasn't. It was somebody impersonating his son, trying to get him to send money to somebody else. And that had nothing to do with a real estate closing. It was just a normal father-son relationship. So, you know,
yeah, I mean, there's over 11,000, it says, real estate agents that have been scammed last year in this article that we had. And it might, what I wanted to make a point is that the people that their emails could get scammed in their list. And so that's where they're...
It almost always is the seller has been hacked into,
right,
or the buyer has been hacked into, or the realtor has been hacked into. Now, as attorney at Downing Fry, we tell our realtors, don't touch wire instructions.
Right, exactly.
Any realtor who touches wire instructions is running a massive risk, a massive risk. You don't want anything to do with it. You just direct them to the title company or the law firm or whoever they're dealing with, and let them verify and take yourself out of the loop.
Right.
The fewer people in the loop, the more apt it is to be done correctly. And warn your people.
That's right.
To be careful and independently call. You don't reply to emails. You forward the email to the known email address of the person you're dealing with. So we're more and more, every year, we're getting more old school, the way we used to do closings in the 80s. I'll refuse, with very rare exceptions, to wire money out of the country, because the different countries have different rules on when the money is credited to the recipient's account. I mean, you know, even with Canada, it could be 5 to 10 days for money to be credited. And I've had situations where the sellers were going crazy saying, where's my money, where's my money? I don't want them in there, I haven't got my money.
Right.
So the contracts don't require wires, except with NABOR. They do say that if you're making a payment within 15 days of closing, we need the money's wired in, and it needs to be, because it needs to be collected funds.
Right.
The money actually has to be in our account before we can give it to anybody else.
Cleared and everything.
Yeah, we can't have a check from Nova Scotia that might take 6 months to clear, which literally it could take 6 months to clear.
Oh, really?
There's no real certain date when it's another country. So we don't take checks from other countries, we don't send wires out of state, we require wire instructions to be original and notarized, and we don't change them. And I think this Frank Abagnale was trying to highlight with the realtors the danger, you know, to everybody out there with cyber fraud. And the two main kind, again, phishing, where they're looking for information.
Right.
They're trying to get you to click on a link or open an attachment. If it looks the least bit odd, if it's a different time zone, or it's a little blurry, or this just doesn't feel right, if in doubt, don't do it. And the other one is spoofing, where they are impersonating, somebody can impersonate your daughter Morgan, shoot you an email and make believe that person is Morgan. It could be somebody from another country trying to get you to wire money. So you can't trust anyone. Now, Old Republic, they sent out a bulletin to all their agents, and I use several underwriters, on 4 things they want us to do. They want us to have a template of our most common banks that we deal with for paying off mortgages. You got to call a certain person at the bank. You want to work with that one person. You can independently verify their phone number, and you have this list and you stick to it. There's no changes with people you deal with the bank. If there's something weird about, it's some time zone in England, not Eastern Standard Time, you don't do it. You make the phone call, and when at all possible, you overnight the payoff, and we have a software function, a program called Positive Pay, where we compare what checks we actually write with what checks are being submitted to the bank, and the bank will shoot us a list of several checks a day. Are these your checks, or did somebody create a fraudulent check, which happens occasionally?
Right.
So we have layers and layers of safeguards in place. It's really not prudent for me to get into all of them, because then the bad guys will know what we're doing.
That's right.
And the Frank's article, the Old Republic article, we had a conference at the Ritz in the last month on cyber fraud. I mean, it was that big, the place was packed. I mean, all the lawyers and title agents in town were there. This man's been in the business 40 years. He goes in different countries, tries to track the bad guys down, and warns us it's only going to get worse. He says anybody in the title business or in the real estate business with a Facebook page, he was a little crude how he put it, but basically you're crazy. So I don't have a Facebook page. He recommended things like freezing your credit. It costs you nothing. If you're not borrowing any money right now, just freeze your credit, because they can get your name, your date of birth, and your social security number without even trying. And they can go out and get a loan on your behalf, do some other financial transaction on your behalf. So you don't want to do that.
Well, Don, before we go into the other stuff,
yes, take a breath.
We're going to take a little break here and get a drink of water, okay?
Breathe, Don. Huh?
We'll be right back after you hear about the York Real Estate Group and Don Ross' title, okay? Thank you.
Thinking of buying or selling a home in Naples, Marco Island, Bonita, or Estero, Florida? Think of the most experienced York Real Estate Group, associated with the #1 brokerage in Southwest Florida, Downing Fry Realty, which produces yearly real estate transactions of over $1 billion. Jim, Michael, and Morgan make up the York Real Estate Group of Downing Fry Realty, with over $275 million in sales transactions, along with offering over 25 combined years' experience in the local market. The Yorks can offer the experience and trust you need in a realtor. Call them today at 239-273-6727 or visit their website at www.naplesyorkrealestate.com.
Looking for a real estate closing agent in Southwest Florida? Ross Title and Escrow has over 25 years experience and has closed over 20,000 residential real estate transactions. Donald Ross Jr., president of Ross Title and Escrow and a practicing attorney in the state of Florida with a degree in taxation, is here to service your needs. Call Mr. Ross or one of our 4 closing agents for a free consultation today.
Welcome back. Well, we both of us had a little drink here, so we're all ready to go. So
I
Don,
took a breath, yes.
Tell us the last 3 things that you had on the list here. One I think is important that people should call, really.
You definitely should call. The problem is people don't.
Right.
They really don't. So there's different ways of handling it. There is a third-party vendor that was first rolled out in Georgia, where they verify the correctness of somebody's email address. It's a cumbersome process, and we haven't gone that route yet. 1 or 2 firms, and soon Ross Title will be doing this. They don't, when they send out wire instructions, they don't give you the last 4 digits of the account number. They say you got to call for it.
That makes sense.
So we're going to start doing that. Really, what I try to do, what is necessary, is to keep changing your security safeguards.
Right.
You keep changing your passwords. You assume every email's a fraud.
Right.
If your gut tells you this doesn't feel right, well, you're Jim York.
Right.
Your gut's based on decades of experience. It's your subconscious telling you that something's not right. You can't quite put your finger on what it is, but either something's missing or there's something that's just a little bit off, and you just can't articulate what it might be. So this particular seminar, the big thing now is fraudulent payoffs, people impersonating banks. A lot of banks will send their payoffs by fax. Faxes can be hacked.
Right.
I don't know if many people knew that. So you got to independently verify or have that template that I talked about in the first segment, where these are the people we talk to at, say, Bank of America or Fifth Third. We have the same person every time we deal with, and is this yours? And is this the amount? Yes, and then we can send the wire. We already have their old wire instructions. Are these
Right.
still correct? That sort of thing. Check if your emails are being forwarded. Now, I have a business, so I have an IT company, so after the seminar, I told my IT company to analyze our database and see if anybody's forwarding our emails. Because that tells us that there's somebody out there watching the deal unfold. You know, it'll start with the introductory letter and the correspondence about inspections, and there's a survey problem, and what about this and what about that, right up to the very end of the closing, 2 days before closing, and then they step in and impersonate, and that's called spoofing, us. Or you know, if money's going to be sent to the seller, they try to impersonate the seller and say, instead of where we told you before, send it here. So we have policies in place that totally preclude that. Always confirm the emails. I even confirm them internally in my office, because you know, I have multiple offices, and then I have responsibilities at Downing Fry, and plus I have children in different parts of the country. So when I get an email and it looks a little off, even with you, I've gotten some emails where I've called, said, "Is that you, Jim? Did you send me this?" So if it's a little off, one of your joke emails, is that you, Jim? Before I click on this thing, because I don't want to get malware.
That's right. Yep.
I don't need it where they can spy on everything I'm doing. We have the encrypted emails, which initially people didn't like, but now I think they appreciate. Frequently change your passwords. Every seller, I say, please take a check. Take a check, because with the safeguards we have in place, the bank has to run by these checks with us every day. So they'll verify whether those are checks that we actually wrote, that I actually signed. So even though you might lose 2 or 3 days worth of interest, look at it as cheap insurance. It really is. I'd rather have your money be safe. You know, even if you lose a couple $100, you know, cheap insurance.
Cheap insurance.
Why not? And again, freeze your credit when you're not using it. It's free. It's free. Don't use debit cards. And don't just cut them up. Terminate them. Banks won't like it, but I terminated mine. My wife terminated hers. Don't announce your entire life on Facebook. You know, people use that. Oh, we got our house sold.
That's right. Yep.
Oh, are you kidding? You just told the whole world. All the bad guys now know that you have a closing. So but that's what people do now. So verify to the extent you can. Go old school, get a check, meet people. When I give somebody wire instructions, I have them on the phone, and I read numbers to them over the phone, and then I swear on my 4 children's lives, these are not changing. Period. End of story. If you get an email saying they changed, call me, because it's a lie. I mean, I get you almost have to get over the top for them to take me seriously. Because I swear on my kids' lives, and that's the line I use. And I am swearing. I'm going to jeopardize my children, but these will not change. I'm not kidding. You know? So, you know, they appreciate that. They don't know it's a risk. And hearkening back to the beginning of our show, the biggest problem with cyber fraud is people don't realize it's a problem. They get the random article in the paper, and it's never going to happen to me, but it's escalating radically.
It definitely is. I mean, we hear stories all the time, so I think we did a great job on the show today, educating our show.
Did we scare them enough, I hope?
I hope we did.
Needs to be.
Yep, they need to verify. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on the show. And
thank you, Jim.
We'll see you next week.